Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes, profesora. Voy a presentar entonces. Vamos a dar inicio. Por favor.
Tengo problemas con la cámara, no me dejen iniciar video.
Mientras tanto, voy a presentar lo que es los parámetros, profesora.
Ok.
Buenas tardes, queridos estudiantes, profesora Aylin Santana. Mi nombre es Javier Sánchez y hoy vamos a dar inicio con la asignatura de Teorías de la Adquisición de una Segunda Lengua. Ahora sí se puede ver, profesora. Compartiré con ustedes algunos parámetros de esta sesión. Los cuales indican que las sesiones se graban. Ustedes pueden verlo nuevamente en la plataforma virtual. Les solicitamos que por favor silencien su micrófono y puedan activarlos cuando ustedes deseen hacer cualquier consulta o aporte con el permiso del docente. Le pedimos que mantengan su cámara activa y de no poder hacerlo envíe su excusa por el chat de Zoom. De lo contrario, será retirado de la sesión y le serán restados puntos en la valoración del docente. Mi rol como moderadora es facilitar y apoyar en la parte técnica. Ya saben que ustedes pueden hacer sus consultas por el chat personal o general. También les exhorto a tener bolígrafo y papel para que puedan hacer las anotaciones y aprovechar al máximo esta sesión que tiene duración de 1 hora. Muchas gracias, profesora. Puede dar inicio. Tiene el micrófono desactivado, profe.
Y ya coloco la clase. Okay. So hello students, nice to see you again. Today we're going to work in the module number 1, reading number 1 and number 2. So today we're going to talk about the behaviorism and the difference between the EFL and ESL, okay? Some words that maybe help you to say thank you for everything that you received during your life. And keep your values positive because your values become your destiny, by Mahatma Gandhi. Reading number 1, behaviorism. Okay? So behaviorism, or the behavioral learning theory, is a popular concept that focuses on how students learn. Behaviorism focuses on the idea that all behaviors are learned throughout interactions with the environment. This learning theory states that behaviors are learned from the environment and says that innate or inherent factors have very little influence on behavior. So with this short explanation about the topic, I would like to share with you a short video that explain more about this and maybe help you to try to understand more about this. Okay, so let me share with you the video.
This is Jules, VP of a ketchup company, about to use.
After having taken an overview of the three groups of theories, we will now begin to look at each one in more detail, and we will also look at different theories under each of these groups of theories. Let's begin with behaviorism, and we will be looking at the works of 5 different theories here. Now, just because these theories are grouped together does not necessarily mean that they all did the same thing or their theories tell us the same thing. In fact, each theory tells us a different thing about behaviors, and that is why it is important to look at multiple theories to get different perspectives of a particular behavior in terms of why, how, and what people do. So let's begin by looking at Thorndike. Thorndike's major work had to do with connections, and that is why it is known as connectionism. What students learn today must be connected in some way to what they did previously or what they are going to do in the future. In other words, they need to see how what they are learning today builds on what they already know or will benefit them In other words, they need to see how what they are learning today builds on what they already know or will benefit them in the future. If work is too simple,
Okay, so as you know, the behaviorism is the key for educators because it impacts how students react and behave in the classroom. As you said, the teachers can directly influence how their students behave. And it also helps
or too complicated, the connection won't be.
happen with this. Okay. So it also helps teacher understand that students' home environment and lifestyles can be impacting their behavior and helping them see it objectively and work to assist with improvement. Okay. So can I mention a short explanation about the history of behaviorism? So the behaviorism started as a reaction against introspective psychology in the 19th century. So as you can find all these, you can find this information in the platform. And the psychologists want to focus on observable and quantum and events and behavior, right? They say that the science should take into account only observable indicators. They help bring psychology into higher relevance by showing that it could be accurately measured and understood, and it wasn't just based off opinion. So it's important to mention the behaviorism learning theory. It maybe can help you to apply it in the classroom with your students some different techniques to reinforce and motivate the students. Okay, so the behavioral learning theory is the key in understanding how to motivate and help students. And information is transferred from the teachers to learners from a response to the right stimulus. The students are passive participants in behavioral learning. Teachers are giving them the information as an element of the stimulus response. And teachers use behaviorism to show students how they should react and respond to certain stimuli. And this needs to be done in a repetitive way or to regularly remind students what behavior a teacher is looking for. For example, the first one is about the positive reinforcement. The positive reinforcement is the key in the behavioral learning theory. Without positive reinforcement, students will quickly abandon their responses because they don't appear to be working. The other one is about the repetition. The repetition and positive reinforcement go hand in hand with a behavioral learning theory. Teachers often work to strike the right balance of repeating the stimulation, the situation, and having the positive reinforcement come to show students why they should continue that behavior. The other one is about the motivation. Plays an important role in a behavioral learning. Positive and negative reinforcements can be motivator for the students. For example, a student may receive praise for getting a good grade on a test. This is a positive reinforcement. And in the case of a negative reinforcement, is still motivation to get the students to act in a desired way. But remove an element in order to get the students to do something. And so it's important to know some different strategies in the behaviorism. Okay, so teachers can implement behavioral learning strategies, techniques in their classroom with the students, right? So you can talk about the drills that the teachers may practice the skills using drill patterns to help students see the repetition and the reinforcement that behavioral learning theory uses. Okay, maybe put in practice the answer and questions. Teachers can use questions and as a stimulus and answers as a response, rather than getting harder with questions to help students. Okay, maybe if you have or if you want to develop some topics in the classroom and you need to motivate your students with different questions, and you can provide some help or some clues to complete or find the best answer for those questions. Okay, so maybe you can put in practice if you have students. No, the third one is CAD practice. Teachers can be directly involved in helping students go throughout problems to give them the reinforcement, a behavior demonstration you want them to follow. And the other one is about the regular reviews. Reviews are important to behavioral learning theory going back over material and giving positive reinforcement will help students retain information much better. And the last one is about the positive reinforcement. And behaviors classroom use a positive reinforcement. This can be in the form of verbal reinforcement and praise reward system at privilege and more. Okay, with this information, so you know that this class is just for 1 hour, right? So I don't have time to develop more information about this topic. So I have some questions for this part of the class, but I decided to put at the end of the class to solve the different questions and the different topics about the different topics, right? So let me read or let me show you. I don't know if I can. Let me try the next video. That is about what is the difference between ESL and EFL. Okay, it's a short video, so I try to show you. Okay, so remember in all the readings you can find some important aspects. And so in the first reading you can find the definition and different aspects, important aspects that help you solve the assignments and activities. So let me find the other one. The difference between ESL and EFL. This is reading number 2. ESL and EFL are terms that are often used interchangeably, but they actually refer to different types of English language learning. ESL, English as a second language, refers to learners who are using English in order to communicate in a second language. And on the other hand, EFL, English as a foreign language, learners are those who are studying English in a non-native country. Okay? So now let me show the video. No. Everybody get low. Everybody get low. Everybody shake your head to your toe. Okay.
Here I'd like to explain the difference between EFL and ESL. These abbreviations are widely used in the English language teaching community, but they don't seem to be universally understood. And some of the explanations that can be found on the internet are, well, somewhat misleading. So basically, EFL stands for English as a foreign language. ESL stands for English as a second language. And although these two notions have a lot in common, there's an important difference. The term EFL is used when learning takes place in a country where English is not generally spoken as the main language of communication. This would generally apply, for example, in China, Japan, the Middle East, and in mainland Europe. The term ESL, English as a second language, is used when learning takes place in an English-speaking country such as the United Kingdom, the United States, Australia or Canada, to name just a few. The reason this distinction is important is because it has a considerable impact on the student profile and on the teaching methods that are most appropriate. In an EFL country, students generally share a common language other than English, which means that they can interact with one another, and in most cases with their teacher too, without using English. But it also means that they have limited contact with English outside the classroom. So on the one hand, it's possible to capitalise on the student's first language by using bilingual methods and giving explanations in the local language, but on the other hand, students typically need as much exposure to English as they can get inside the classroom because they don't have an immediate need to use English outside the classroom, and they're generally not immersed in an English language environment. ESL students, on the other hand, come from a variety of backgrounds. Frequently they do not share a common language in the classroom, other than English, and they have an immediate need, or an opportunity if you prefer, to use and practice English outside the classroom. So typically they need strategies for coping with everyday language problems, and they use English as a lingua franca both inside and outside the classroom. And since it's unlikely that they share a common language with their teacher, English is not only the target language, but the means of instruction too. Although their emphasis varies from country to country, both EFL and ESL come under the general heading of ESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages. Although in the UK, ESOL is frequently seen as synonymous with ESL, and it's sometimes written with the O.
Que el internet no quiere trabajar conmigo. Esto. So the main difference between the two, between the ESL and ESL learners, are learning English in order to be able to communicate in an English-speaking context, while ESL learners are learning English for other reasons such as academic, study, or personal interest. The ESL and ESL both involve the study of English. But ESL, English as a second language, and EFL, English as a foreign language, present slightly different contexts. So learners or ESL typically live in an English-speaking environment and are learning the language in order to be able to communicate within it. On the other hand, ESL learners are immersed in a non-English speaking context and are typically motivated by academic or personal reasons to gain fluency and in the language, such as wanting to attend university or read literature in its original language form. Okay, so with this information, I consider that we can solve some questions, but I don't have much time to complete this. So let me share with you the questions, and if you have the opportunity to solve for the next class, that's great for me, okay? So I don't know if you want to write it or take a picture, I don't know. And the next class, you can solve or mention the solution at the beginning of the class, okay? Let me know when you're ready, please. Okay, with this information, I think that you can make a short summary about the information that you received here today. Maybe if you have the opportunity, I don't know, to read the information in the platform, and I consider that maybe you can take 3 or 4, 5 minutes to complete the summary. I don't know if you want to see the information in the platform as a help to complete the summary. I don't know. So remember, all the classes you need to bring a short summary about the topic as a conclusion of the class, okay? So let me know when you're ready. Okay, are you ready? Okay, who wants to be the first one? All right. Veronica, are you ready? Okay.
No yet, teacher.
Mm,
I am typing the question number 2.
Okay, okay, no worries.
Let me finish.
Who is ready? Okay. Okay, the next one? Yes, no, yes or no?
The first question.
Yeah,
Okay, what is behaviorism? Well, behaviorism is a theory of learning based on the idea of about all the things that
mhm,
are around. You listen to me? No.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. That all behaviors around acquired through conditioning
Mm-hmm.
um, is based on that all behaviors around are conditioning. It's like a student is gonna be learning throughout the conditions that we as a teacher put on them according to the what we are learning.
Yeah. Okay. Veronica?
Okay, the number 2, I just have the strategies. I just have 1, 2, 3, 4, missing just 1. Okay. And I'm going to start. Mention, explain 5 teaching strategies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can mention visualization. It's very simple. For the ability to create mental images based on the words we hear or the text that we read. Number 2, cooperative learning. Cooperative learning is an instructional strategy in which a small group of students collaboratively work on a given task. The task can be as simple as solving a quiz or as complex as writing a story. Okay, number 3, using technology. Introducing online interactive games encourage students' participation, which in turn ensures a fulfilling learning experience. Educational games serve as a platform for children to learn through play. And number 4, providing feedback. Provide plenty of positive feedback as well as a feedback indication where a student has room to grow or what a student should do differently. Encouragement help keep students moral, inspiration, and drive high. Now we see one.
Okay. Number 3.
Okay, number 3 is mention a briefly explain some important aspects of the behavioral theory of learning. Well, something very interesting I will see here is this. Strict behaviorists believe that any person, regardless of genetic background, personality traits, and internal thoughts, can be trained to perform any task within the limits of their physical capabilities, if only acquire the right conditioning. It's really interesting because they think that it's not important who were your parents, whatever. If conditions are good for you, you can solve any task. Really interesting.
Yeah. Okay. And this is the first part of the activity, right? So the next one is about the EFL and EFL. So number 1. Okay, it's easy. Explain the acronym for ESL and EFL. So did you know the correct acronym, right? So let me know.
So ESL, English as a second language.
Yeah.
Verónica.
Okay. Okay. Se vale.
EFL, easy, is easy. EFL.
Is English as a foreign language?
That's correct. And the last one. Who wants to be the next one or the volunteer for the third?
Mention or briefly explain 3 challenges of learning. Well, learning English, right?
Yeah.
Learning English. Well, one of the most, I think, is pronunciation.
Yes.
Fluent,
Mm-hmm.
of course, grammar.
Yeah.
There are challenges for any person.
There's different levels of education. Okay. So, remember that in the readings you can find some important aspects. So you can find here the pronunciation, the grammar, social and professional references, and the vocabulary. Okay, at the end of the readings, you can find the rules or the instructions to develop the assignments, right? So pay attention to this and try to solve. Okay, remember that you need to complete all the forums in the platform. Todo esto tiene nota, ¿verdad? Esto es un porcentaje. Si no lo completamos, un porcentaje que se pierde y que a la final nos va a afectar en la nota. Okay, and what else? The test. Okay, todavía no. Vamos a trabajar con las asignaturas primero, con las asignaciones y luego entonces avanzamos. So if you have the time to solve the activities with this information, and if you have time to read the information in the platform, that's great. Okay. So let me. Okay. No lo voy a poner a hacer esto resumen porque ya no hay tiempo. Okay. Entonces, so I don't know if you have any doubt or any question. Remember, if you have any doubt or any question, you can write to in the forums of consultations too. Or if you have some problems with the platform, you can write the number. El número creo que está en la plataforma. El de los técnicos, no de CT. Okay, so I don't know. Everything is clear, or do you need some help or another question? So let me know. Okay. Veronica? Okay. So with this information, I think that is all for today. Okay. And remember, please complete all the forums in the platform. Okay. Otra cosa también que me han dejado esto sin completar al final. Te los digo desde ya para que no se les olvide durante el curso, ¿no? Al final tenemos una heteroevaluación que ustedes tienen que completar. Por favor, completen la tarea al final. Porque se me han ido, no me lo completan y es un porcentaje que también se pierde. ¿Ok? Así que esto se lo digo desde ya para que no se nos olvide y lo voy a seguir repitiendo durante las clases para que lo tengan ahí presente. ¿Ok? So this is all for today. Have a good week and see you in the next class. Okay? Bye.
Bye, teacher. Thank you.
Bye, Ernesto.
Muchas gracias, profesora. Buenas noches, queridos estudiantes. Si no hay más preguntas, entonces vamos a dar la clase como finalizada. Feliz noche.